Hi, welcome to Get Known, Be Seen WebTV. I'm Trish Springsteen, your host, and it's my absolute delight to bring to you in this session our special guest, Marney Perna, from Australia this time. We've had a few different international guests in the last few series, so welcome, Marney.
Thank you, Trish. It's an honour to be here.
I'm absolutely delighted to have you here, and I'm looking forward to our conversation. So before we get into it, let's find out a little bit more about Marney and who she is and what she does. So Marney Perna's business is all about Clinique Natural Therapies, and she's a consultant. We're going to talk about how she came up with that name because I think it's an awesome name. Awesome. Yeah. She's also an author, and a little bit of background about that. Heartpreneur is one of the things that she's called, and Heartpreneur Marney Perna helps to pamper women of all ages and to reduce their stress levels. She also manages to include volunteering her skills and knowledge with local not-for-profit Soroptimist International Moreton, Norfolk, and caring full-time for elderly parents alongside with working in her natural therapy clinic. So one of the things we may speak with Marney about is how she manages all of that and still looks serene and comfortable. Absolutely. Awesome. Her background to why she's got into kinesiology, diagnosed with rheumatic fever, which affected her motor neurone skills. It taught her a valuable lesson to celebrate the small success in life and to have compassion for people experiencing difficulties, whatever they may be. And because of that, she also had a surprising health condition in her 40s, which led her to the study of kinesiology, which is her main area at the moment, and through Clinique Natural Therapies, as an author and a qualified kinesiologist, she helps people improve their health and energy levels. And one of the things that I also wanted to bring to you about Marney's background is that she's a bit of a pet whisperer, and she uses her kinesiology to help all types of animals deal with their challenges, from laying an egg with ease, and I think I really want to know about that, to behavioural issues like excessive barking. And she uses natural remedies that she actually develops herself and her kinesiology. She lives on 3 acres in the north side of Brisbane with an extended family, and I love this, an elderly dog, Bullet, youthful dogs, Hudson and Archer, plus a cat, and she's also babysitting various family pets. So all of that, and look, she's still looking serene and comfortable. Marney, how do you do all of that and still look serene and comfortable?
I'm the perpetual swan. I'm gliding across the water and my feet are madly going underneath.
Oh, I love it. I love that swan analogy. So your kinesiology interest came out of those health issues in your 40s. Yep. And you've developed that into a very intriguing, very interesting business. I love the name, Clinique. Do you want to give us a little bit of an idea how that's developed and maybe some of the challenges that you've experienced on the way?
Absolutely. So I never knew I was going to have a business. So I'll preamble that straight away. I was a stay-at-home mum, loved being a stay-at-home mum. Through the stay-at-home mum aspect, I was able to volunteer a lot of my time. So I've been like what you would almost call a perpetual volunteer. But that's one of the blessings that come from being able to be at home. Right? And then my elderly mum developed really bad health issues once she'd left a 3-acre allotment and moved down to a local house block in Rothwell. And she was a very fit lady. She was always overweight. She was always a bit older, but she was fit in that, so that she cared for a 3-acre allotment. They dug their own gardens. You know, she was always active. And she came down to Rothwell, and then all of a sudden she couldn't get out of bed. So mainstream couldn't help her at all. And I went with her once to a lady doctor, and I said, the doctor asked Mum what was wrong, and Mum rattled off a few of the things that were happening. Now, singly, they didn't seem like life-threatening, but collectively they were life-altering. And she couldn't read anymore. She couldn't get out of bed. She had no energy. She could sleep but wake up unrefreshed. And the lady looked at her and said, "Gee, you worry about yourself a lot, don't you?" I sat there and I went, I was horrified. I couldn't believe this doctor would say this to an elderly lady who wasn't feeling well. And the like anything with the yin and yang of life, the more unwell mum got, the fitter dad got. So, you know, you had that disharmony happening in the house as well. Anyhow, she grudgingly decided to send mum for a blood test, and it came back with Ross River fever at a time when Ross River, and we're talking 22 years ago, Ross River was what you had if you didn't have anything. The doctors would just tell you had Ross River fever and you were almost a maligner, right? And it wasn't until someone that was very fit dropped dead at the side of a pool that mainstream medical said, maybe there's something to this. Maybe it is an immune response, you know, and it's a lot more recognised now. So we went looking for help. Now, I did not come from natural therapies. I had no interest in it whatsoever. I had no involvement in it whatsoever. But I don't even know how we found them, but someone gave me a card that said, why don't you try this? And we found this little clinic at Bracken Ridge, and there was a homeopath. The wife was a homeopath and the husband was the kinesiologist. And the homeopath sat there and listened to mum and said, oh my God, you must be so exhausted. Finally, someone listened. So that got us interested in looking at the whole picture of her health and not just single little bits of it. And around the same time, my husband had a bulging disc in his back. And again, someone gave us a card, said, if you need something else, go and see this guy. And it was the same place. So we didn't want the operation. We waited to see the specialist. He just said, he didn't look at x-rays or anything. He just said, this is the operation. This is how much it costs. Let me know when you want it. So again, no interaction, no discussion, no, have you had a go at this? Have you tried this? Have you tried something else? So we decided to bite the bullet and go and see this weird person. And honestly, I'm sitting there as the spectator watching this man work with my husband. And he was moving around like this and pulling faces with his face. And I'm sitting there in my head going, for God's sake, will you just go to the toilet? Because he looked like a little kid that was jigging, trying not to go to the toilet. Because I had no idea. But what I suddenly realised when that thought went away a little bit, I realised that suddenly some of what the questions he was asking my husband was being very relevant and was presenting in his body as changes. So he'd ask him a question, and we use arms in kinesiology to talk to. And 1 minute the arm's floppy and the next minute it's holding firm. And when you're a spectator, you're just thinking to yourself, oh, can you just try harder? You haven't got a clue what's going on. But it was interesting and it piqued my interest. So I went and did a weekend workshop. And my husband has often said that weekend workshop turned into a monster because it became a passion. I suddenly found something that I wasn't looking for. And that was something to do, like a career. The biggest catch about that is no one tells you maybe they do nowadays, but back then they didn't say to you, when you get your degree or your certificate 4 or your diploma or whatever, no one gives you a job. You have to open a business, and that's a whole new can of worms.
Awesome. I love that. And what you pulled out of there was when you've got a passion for something, it's almost obscene in a way.
Yeah.
Not to go ahead with it because it's such a detriment to yourself. If you've got a passion, people, and you want to do something, you need to do it, because if you bottle it up, it's just it's not going to, life is not going to be where you need it to be.
No.
So
the weird thing, Trish, is you don't always know you've got this passion. It came out of left field for me. Yeah. So I hated school. I was that typical. I left school at 15, never wanted to go back. Absolutely hated it. Had all those health challenges during my teenage school years. So it was not my favourite place at all. Didn't miss it ever. And the ironical thing is I've been tutoring or doing exam supervision for over 20 years for University of Sunshine Coast or University of South Queensland, actually. And I'd be sitting in the exam centre saying, oh, you suckers. Not out loud, but behind the head. And suddenly here was I going to start studying at 46. So I was in the middle of menopause.
Wow.
Go in one ear and straight out the other. I didn't have a clue what they were talking about.
Oh, awesome. But what happened was you were open to going of it. Once you had that passion, you had to go.
It was interesting. It was, and I suppose too, your life, like you have times in life where you have the opportunity as well.
Yeah.
So, the children had nearly finished school. And let's face it, when they hit high school, they don't want you anymore. You're a good driver. You pick up, mum, come and get me, mum, do this, mum, do that. But they don't actually need you at the tuck shop and the classrooms and things like that. So a lot of that had changed. Mum and dad had moved into the granny flat on our acreage. So my caring was easier because I could just run down the hill to help them and run back home again. So I had the time to devote myself to the study. And it was real. I mean, I did not find it easy at all. I was going to quit so often because it wasn't just even the study. It was, you know, I didn't come from the metaphysical mindset. So for me, I was being exposed to all these weird and wacky, what I called weird and wacky back then, concepts and theories, and they didn't sit well with me a lot of the time.
But you persevered, and look where you are now.
Yeah.
So you got this, you came out with the certificates and that, and you're thinking, wow.
Now a job.
So then what happened? You had to start a business, and not.
Yeah.
What were some of the things that you faced? I mean, right.
Well, starting a business, getting a name, getting a website. Like we're talking 2014, I think. No, it was earlier than that. 2008 was when I sort of got ready to start my business. So Google wasn't really around back then. Like you really dedicated if you had a website. People didn't talk about emails or websites or anything like that. So you had to build a website. You had to come up with a name. You had to find somewhere to work from. And then you had all the paraphernalia that you were collecting to use within your clinic. Then you had the imposter syndrome. And that was one of the biggest bits I had to jump over. One of my biggest hurdles was overlaying imposter syndrome with the thought of I'm a viable and profitable business owner. Because I was just a stay-at-home mum. I was just a natural therapist. I was just so many times.
Is that negative mindset? So how did you work with getting over that? And
one of my
over it, or does it come in a bit every now and then?
Oh, of course it does.
Yeah.
I've just done a big conference, kinesiology conference, and I was going to submit to be a presenter, but your mind says, oh, you're not good enough. You've got nothing startling to tell anyone, so why do it? And so you sort of back off and you don't do it. And you watch the people's presentations and you go, oh, my God, they're so amazing. Just as well I hadn't done it because I couldn't cope. But then you realise there's so many other therapists who are not as advanced as some of these really advanced practitioners that would have been blessed to have had a workshop that was more simple.
Yeah, your story is unique for you, and even in the kinesiology world, what you do with it.
Yes, you become an ism. You learn a particular. That's the other thing. I didn't even know all these different types of kinesiology. I went to a PKP trained practitioner, which is professional kinesiology practices, and that's all I thought kinesiology was. I didn't know what touch for health was. I didn't know brain gym or all these other modalities, and I certainly didn't know the weird ones where they walk around with crystals and chimes, and I go, oh, God, they're mad. I'm just as mad nowadays. It's lovely.
Awesome. So you're facing this business challenge.
Yeah.
How did you feel the first year? At the end of that first year, what was it like?
I had to take my heart in my hand and go and approach another practitioner or another business and ask, could I hire a room? So I went and I found a naturopath in Kalanga who was willing. He was hiring out rooms, and he was willing to let me hire one of his rooms. Now I became virtually. He was a very established practice, right? He had people come from all over Australia to him. I actually became almost his receptionist because I'd sit in my clinic. There weren't too many people back then, and but I'd be answering the phone for him, and I rarely got cross-referred really from him. So I only lasted there probably 18 months, but it was enough time to make me feel as though I had a viable solution for people, because the ones you did see, change was created. So it got your feet under the table, I suppose. So, and then I took my business home because as mum's health deteriorated, I need to be more available. So I've always had to make my business part of my life, not my whole life. So my business is a part of my life. It's a section of my life. It's not my entire life. My family is my first life. My business floats into it, and my volunteer again matches the two. So you have to know your boundaries. You have to be able to blend the three. Otherwise, what's the point of being in business? I may as well go and work for Coles or Woolies.
Well, that's part of the, I guess, part of the attraction, part of why so many women go into being what we call soulpreneurs, having businesses out of home, because they can blend it.
Yeah.
In that, if they watch some of the things, I like the fact that you brought out that what you did was you went and asked for some help. You looked
Yeah.
for some people to help you, and that gave you that confidence to then springboard into what you're doing.
Yeah. And networking. I found a small networking group, because stay-at-home mums don't network. You have play groups and things like that.
Yeah.
And I found this very small one. It was called Jacaranda Business Network. And it was just based at Everton Park, so it wasn't too far to go. It wasn't first thing in the morning because I don't do breakfast very well. You know, by the time you get your family ready, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock's gone, and you go, oh, damn, forgot that meeting. So it was mid-morning, so it was more beneficial. And then I joined Women's Network Australia. And again, that was on this side of town. And the owner at the time, Lynette Parman, she was very direct. I was scared stiff of her, but she was amazing as well. And she taught me to take it more seriously. And if I wanted to do it, you know, if I was a member of the networking group, well, be active. So it made me write articles. It made me get a headshot, which I didn't have. You know, all these practical things that you didn't know you needed, and suddenly you did. So to write articles for the magazine, or to submit articles with the hope of getting them published, she wanted a proper headshot. She didn't want your wedding photo cut off, sort of thing, you know. So
yeah.
But she also presented the tools to do it. So she engaged a photographer who would come to some of the meetings, and you get to have your headshots. You paid for it, but it was there. Yeah. You know, and she taught me to be proud of what I was doing and not be just up, and to, you know, put my hand up for trade tables, and to, if someone said they were looking for a collaboration, so long as it fitted, and that's a, you know, a judgment call in itself. You've got to collaborate with people where it's beneficial to both sides and not one-sided. So I was writing articles for, you know, people that were starting off and needed people to write articles on health and wellness. So it taught me to value my writing skills as well, because you had to write good articles for people to publish them.
And people, I want you to stop and rewind and listen to what Marnie's just said, because there's some freakingly good gold nuggets there for anybody starting your business, or even if you've been in business for a while. Networking, making sure you've got good photos, collaboration, writing articles, getting out there and speaking to people. These are all ways that you actually have to do, because as I say, the best person to speak about your business, your book, or you is you. And these are ways that Marnie has shared that you can use to get there. So let's go face forward. You're starting writing articles, you're starting writing book in that, and you've got a book.
Yep.
That was your next step. What prompted you to bring that book out?
Okay, so the book was because you have a preconceived idea of what you're going to deal with in clinic as a natural therapist, right? And I was going to deal with shoulders, knees, ankles, things like that. That's not what presented in clinic. What I found was the overriding reason that people came to see me, they were stressed. They didn't always know they were stressed, but they were highly stressed, and their adrenal systems were up the creek. So that made them, they didn't sleep so well. They were reacting too quickly about things. Their stress buckets were overflowing. So I realized I needed to be able to explain to my clients about a stress bucket. Oh, how can I do that? So I thought of the analogy of a bucket. So if you've got a set of scales, on one side you've got a stress bucket, the other side you've got your life energy. As your stress bucket builds up, your life energy depletes. When you haven't got good life energy, and your life energy, it's your enthusiasm, it's your immune response, that you get up and go. When that's depleted, you don't work so well. Mm-hmm. So you're not coping as well. You're not coming up with solutions to challenges that are happening to you, whether that be emotional challenges, physical, spiritual even. And I realized I also needed to be able to explain to clients what stress was doing to them. But there was nothing around. I couldn't find a book on stress unless it was really overly complicated. Well, my clients weren't ready for that. I mean, most therapists weren't. So, you know, so I thought, what can I do? So I decided to write a book. So I joined again the Universe Supplies, and there was a lady put a call out for write a book in 12 weeks. And I thought, that suits me. I'll get it done and dusted. And I wrote it virtually in that time, but I didn't publish it for about 4 years.
Oh, Marnie, you sat on it. Why did you sit on it? What was it?
That imposter syndrome was a big part of it. Mm-hmm. How dare I record a book or write a book that is daring to tell people what's going on in life? Also, too, as a natural therapist, we get caught up in a lot of red tape, and we get told quite a lot by various places what we can and can't say and do. So then I was thinking, well, if I tell someone something, it's not recorded, it's not in stone, it's not written. But if I've written it in a book, what if there's something in there that someone can take umbrage with and call me out on? And then also too, because it had to have enough technical stuff in there, you can't rewrite merrics. You know, you can't rewrite what anatomy and physiology is. You can only reword it so much for it to make sense. So again, have I plagiarized people's information, even though you're recording where you got some of the info from? So I was sitting there going, this is terrible. And then one day, because I kept saying, oh yeah, it'll be published soon. I had all these pre-launches and, you know, everything. And then one day I sat down with myself and I said, okay, self, why is it not published? And the answer that I got back was, because if it's not published, it's not a failure. But if I publish it and no one buys it, it's a failure. So I went, oh, stuff it. Let's publish it. So I published it. And oh my God, I was so excited the first time a non-family member bought my book. I ran around the house.
It's awesome, isn't it?
So exciting.
Someone that is not your family, because you know your family member will always.
Oh, I mean, they're going to have to buy your book, aren't they?
They've got to buy it. But it's really awesome when someone who's not a member.
Out of the blue, someone rings, and now I get, I mean, it's nothing for me now to get a request of 10 or 15 copies. And they don't always want, because I think you would do it too. I love writing in a book for someone, you know, something special for someone and signing it. And I'll often get requests if they want bulk books. They might want a couple signed, and the others they want to leave blank. And I'll say, we don't want me to say blessings from. And they, oh, you know, you can do that, but we don't need your name in it yet. They don't know who they want to give it to. And it's lovely because it means people are valuing your information. They're valuing the benefit the book is giving them as well. And I mean, that's the blessing of being an author, is when someone acknowledges that you've made a difference in their life.
And yeah, it's why I really love
prolific writer. Yeah,
a book is a legacy. It takes a while once you get over that mindset. Where people, when you do get that mindset over, it's like a dam. There's all sorts of things that you can say, and it's pretty awesome. It's an awesome opportunity.
In the end, I just thought, oh, bite me if you don't like it.
Well, what was the worst that could happen, Marney? The worst that could happen is that you've already thought about that. The worst that could happen was that no one would buy it.
Yeah, but even the information, like the worry about, have I written something that could be, because we get told sometimes as therapists that if we're talking to someone who hasn't got the same level of education that we have, they may misconstrue us saying this has worked as meaning it always works.
Yeah.
So there was that whole, what if I, but I think the book itself has got enough of me in it, and my clients will tell me, man, it's like having you in my pocket. And that's what made me do the audio book as well. So I've done it as an audio recording. So I went and did it as a narrated audio recording from myself. So again, they've got me in the ear.
So you did your own recording, you read it yourself?
I went down to there's a facility down the down Logan Home Way, and she's got the setup. So she's again a solopreneur. She's a young mum with children, and she's brilliant. She was so good. She could listen to you doing your reading and hear what you were saying, but still be recording what she was needing to do. So she could pick you up if there were little things that showed up. She was so gifted. So I'm happy to share her details if anyone needs them as well. So, But I didn't want to do it myself. I'm not technically gifted enough to do it myself. And hers was a recording. She did the recording. She managed to put it on iTunes and all that kind of stuff. So she took care of that side of it, as well as nurturing me doing the reading.
And there's another little gold nugget, because you've got a book, people, but how many of you have actually thought about taking it into an audio book? Because there are people who will read and there are people who will listen. And it's another way of being known, being seen, reaching audiences and making it easy for them to find you, for those who like audiobooks. Yeah,
it was suggested to me by someone who used to buy my books that for people who can't read, like they're challenged, either they mightn't be able to physically read a book, or they can't capture the information, so they needed to hear it from a different way. So that's why my book's hard copy, ebook, and audio.
Brilliant. So you've got your book written.
Yep.
How did you get that out there? What were the challenges? Was it just word of mouth, or did
word of mouth? Yeah.
Word of mouth?
I took the opportunity to apply for a trade table and a guest speaking spot for a women's organisation Queensland Rural Remote Women's Association, and they were having a conference at Billawheeler. Now, I was a member of the association anyhow, and I just put my hand up to have a workshop. But the workshop was my launch of my book.
Awesome.
So I did a book launch there, and then the local library actually hosted my book launch.
Brilliant. So there's another possibility for people who are thinking of getting their books out is look for associations. Look where you can have your book launches, which most people do, but sometimes finding an association that will allow you to do a spot as well to get your book out is a good opportunity to flow on from there. And
it's hot. It sounds terrible, but it's hot leads. Like you've just done a workshop, you're talking about your book, and there you've got your book there to sell. So you can, autograph those books at the same time. And I often gift my book as well. So it's not always about selling your book. So quite often I'll gift it. So when I'm doing I do a lot of public talks and keynote talks and things. And sometimes I'll say to people, now think of some things that I'm saying, and I might ask a question at the end. And when I ask the question at the end, if someone answers, well, then I gift them a copy of my book. And I always gift a copy to the host group that are hosting my talk as well, so they can use it either on the day or at a later stage as a gift.
Awesome. So we've got the book out there, and it's worked for you. I know also that you have got it into several clinics,
bookshops. I've got them in clinics, but I've also, the Royal Brisbane Hospital was stocking it at their news agency for a couple of years. They've slowed down a little bit at the moment. And also Toombul News Agency have always been a stockist as well. And I often do, again, if your book is being stocked somewhere, I will always ask, are they looking for a signing day, a book signing day? And I'll go along with my book and banner and all sorts of things and talk to people about my book.
Mm-hmm. How did you get into the news act? Was that just a matter of
went and asked?
Of insane courage, go out there and do you mind putting my book out there?
Yeah. They can answer. They can give you 3 answers.
Yeah.
Yes, no, or maybe, but at least you know.
If you don't ask, you don't get.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you can sit at home thinking, "Oh, I don't know."
If only. And like the one at the Royal Brisbane Hospital, it was just that I was taking Dad constantly for skin removal things at the hospital. And one day I took my book with me, and went into the big bookshop there and said, "Would you be interested in stocking?" And they said, "Absolutely." Yes.
Awesome. Brilliant. Absolutely. So I happen to know also that you have, where did the Clinique name come from?
Oh, okay. When you first started off, they tell you to be, like, the suggestions were your name and kinesiology. So I initially started Marney Perna Kinesiology, and then I thought, no, it needs to be something else. So I would have kinesiology, and my tagline was uniquely for you. Now, back then, people didn't know me. They didn't know kinesiology, so it didn't really matter. So I decided to put kinesiology and unique together and form Clinique. And that's where the name came from. And Clinique's my seahorse. My seahorse is my logo. So that's her identity. And a very good branding lady has branded me fully. So even my book, Creating Calm Amid Chaos, is well branded. Brilliant. So it's my colours. It's got my logo. People see the seahorse and they know it's mine.
And it's all about branding.
Yeah.
It's another option of, when you're getting out there and being seen, you need to have your branding. I mean, you don't have to be huge, but it has to be consistent.
Yeah, and mine was dreadful. I was told I was the most scattered, chaotic, branded person that they'd ever met. I went, oh, really? Because I thought I did a great job. I love Vistaprint, and I would make all these wonderful cards with all these puns on them and everything. And she'd go, what do you do?
It was muddying the waters, but you were being consistent.
Well, I had fun, so at least I was having a go and doing stuff, as opposed to, like, I can go to events now. I was recently an invited guest at, of all places, Parliament House. It was so exciting. I had such a ball. At the people there that did not have business cards. You just, networking 101, doesn't matter where you're going, have at least 5.
Yeah,
because you're going to meet someone that is interested in your story or what you're doing or how you're doing something. They're not going to remember you afterwards. You need to give them a visual something.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing I do, Trish. I'm really cheeky. When I'm going to an event, I take a signed book for the main speaker.
Yep.
Now, I've gifted my book to Julia Gillard, I've gifted it to, recently I gave it to Ida Buttrose at that big event at Eaton's Hill. Several prime ministers, when I've gone, I might not be going there as their guest, but I'm there. I make sure I've got a signed book. My signed book for Oprah is still in my drawer, wrapped nicely with gold thread, because when I went to go to Oprah that time, I went as just a person in the stand sort of thing, and you didn't have the opportunity to get to her. But one day I'll get my book to her as well.
It's all about taking opportunity, isn't it? If you don't try, I mean, hey, you didn't get to Oprah that time, but you will do. But if you had done the same, if you hadn't even tried, you would not have got to Julie Gillard.
No.
All they can do is
say no.
Is that say no, or you can't get close to them. But if you do, they've got your book.
And like, you're offering them a book. Yeah, I know it's self-promotion, but you know, it's your baby.
Yeah.
You're so proud of it. So it's not just, and when I saw Ida Buttrose's, I saw the book still sitting on the table when they went for official photos, and I didn't get to get the official photos for that one. And I went, oh no, she's forgotten. I thought, that's all right, I'll pick it up and I'll get it to someone to get to her. And as I was holding it, this other young lady came out and said, has anyone seen the book that was on this table? I said, yeah, it's here, I've got it, I was going to get it to you. She said, oh no, she didn't mean to leave it there, she'd like it, please. I'm like, yes. So my next step is to have the gumption to contact these people afterwards and say, how did you find it?
That's it, because that's just a few words from them will be good.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well done. I love that. I think that is something that, look, people, it's just a matter of what I call 60 seconds of insane courage. Just do it. Because the worst that, as we've just said, the worst that can happen is no.
Yeah.
If you don't try, you don't even get the chance of having the best that can happen, which is,
That's
it goes.
Right. I love it. As I said, it's a bit cheeky, but still.
I love also, what's your time? We could talk for ages.
I know.
The one thing I like to also bring out is that what you've also done is diversified. You've looked for other ways of being able to help people. Do you want to just explain a little bit about your oils and what you do?
Okay, so when I first started my clinic, I'd see all these people with these amazing ranges of products that they would use for their clients' health journey and their own as well. And I think, oh, wouldn't it be awesome to have my own range of products, not really knowing how to do it. And so then I decided one day, I'd been to a couple of workshops, and I went, oh, I can make my own. So I actually made my own what's called a mother tincture, which just means it's the base essence of Clinique, the clinic, but it helps my clients. So it goes into any product that I use for my clients that they take home with them in home reinforcement. Clinically for you, the base product goes into it. But from that, I've grown my range of products, which is a range of 12 at the moment, emotional healing mists. And they're for all experiences, like someone, you know, bankruptcy, job loss, I've made resilience. Because I was asked to make a redundancy spray, and I went, I'm not putting my energy on redundancy, but I'll give you resilience. So I made them resilience spray. I've got, you know, creating calm. I've got tween teens, which is for that bit of crazy energy of the teenagers that need to be a little bit grounded so that they can move forward more easily. My latest one is Monster Be Gone, because my granddaughters had spooky monsters and ghosts in their room. So I've made the Monster Be Gone.
Awesome.
Yeah, and they're all branded. So they're branded for my clinic, but then I have now got other clinics that are stocking my branded clinic in their clinic for their clients. And that's my side arm. That's my side hustle, is I create mother tinctures and a business range for other businesses that need not be a natural therapy clinic.
Brilliant.
They've then got something to on-sell or upsell or to support their clients or use as VIP gifts.
Love it.
Their product, it's not MLM, it's not someone else's, it's theirs, it's their branding. They can do what they want with it once they've got it.
Awesome. I love that. It's about diversifying, about having other options to meet people who may not be wanting that particular area, but you give them that, and then you never know, they may come over onto
and again, it's a matter of asking, going around, and you get a lot of knockbacks. It's like anyone, you get lots of knockbacks, but then occasionally someone says yes, and at first you don't hear the yes, you go, oh really? And then you jump in.
So you have to hear the no. Awesome.
Yeah.
Oh look, Marty, we could speak for ages, but you do have a way people can contact you, a free gift.
Yeah. Yes, so I'm open to helping. If people aren't sure what kinesiology is, or can kinesiology help what is going on in my life, because honestly, as kinesiologists, just people come to us and they say, I've never told anyone this before, or it's so crazy, I'm not sure if you can help me. Definitely kinesiologists can help in those situations. It doesn't matter how crazy. And so I give people a 15-minute discovery session. So they're on my website. You can just book in and I'll chat with you for 15 minutes to see whether we're the right fit, or if I'm not the right fit, who can I suggest you move on to? Because that's about the collaboration and working within your networks, as well as, you know, someone sometimes that people need to go to. And that's about getting, I think you spoke about it earlier, it's getting your ego out of the way.
Yeah.
And allowing yourself to be that conduit of information. Doesn't mean you send everyone away, but there's times where you're not the person. So own up to that and say, okay, well, maybe I can't help you, but go and see this person, and you know I'm here if you need me.
Great. And you can there'll be a link below. You can go there to book in for that. I'll have that link below here. And that just before we finish, your biggest lesson insight, what would that be if you did?
Biggest lesson, deal with the small stuff. It doesn't fester and grow bigger. Simple is best. When clients are overwhelmed, they do not want complicated. And that's what my book's about as well. The 10 points to de-stress.
Awesome.
Smiling, breathing, basic things in life. If you don't do either, you're not working so well.
No, it does help. Doesn't help.
Yeah, definitely.
Not breathing. And they can get your book on your website?
They can, yes, absolutely. Yeah. Or they can contact me any way they wish, or the Royal Brisbane still has stuff.
Yep.
And two books.
Email, I'll put that link below.
Yep.
And Marnie's on Facebook. You can PM her there. And
I'm always open to guest speaking roles as well. So, you know, if you're having challenges with your teams, give me a hoy.
Awesome. Brilliant. Thank you, Marnie. It's been an absolute joy speaking with you. I've loved having you. As I said, we could have talked for ages on that.
Thanks, Trish. Thanks for the opportunity, love.
You're welcome. Hi, people. You've been watching Get Known, Be Seen Web TV with your host, Trish Springsteen. Now, Get Known, Be Seen Web TV is a place for people to come on as a guest. Now, it can be because you've suddenly got that courage up, you've got your new business, or you've got something happening in your business, you've got a message, you've got a book that you've got out, or a product, and you suddenly realize that you really need to let people know about it. So if you'd like to do that, you're welcome to come on as a guest. My contact details are below. You can just contact me and we'll arrange a time. It's also an opportunity for those who are experts in getting known, being seen. If you'd like to come on and share your strategies, your techniques, and your expertise for people to get known, be seen, again, just see the link below, contact me, and I'd love to have you on as a guest. Now, I also would love to be a guest on your show. So if you have an event or if you have a podcast or web TV, and also the event is face-to-face or online, and you're looking for someone to share their story, I would love to come and share with you my story about getting known, being seen, about being an introvert speaker. So if you'd like to have me as a guest, again, my link's below. Just click on that and we'll have a discussion and I'll be happy to share my story with you. And don't forget, below here is a big button that says subscribe. Now, if you press that subscribe button, you will always be notified when there's a new show coming up with guests just like Marnie that we've had on today, and you will never miss a show. So be awesome. Make sure that you replay and get all the gold nuggets that Marnie shared, the things that she shared that you really need to know. Networking. Don't let the small stuff get too big. Get on top of it. Your branding. Getting out there with your book. Don't procrastinate. Just get out there and do it. That's a lesson that's come out from Marnie. Until next time, be good, and we'll see you next time on the show. Bye.